Hey guys, Ryan here, and today I'm unboxing and giving you my first impressions of the new Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra and some unique things you need to know about. So this was perhaps the most complicated unboxing in a while, and interestingly enough, the straps were not attached to the watch itself. So there's the casing, the straps, and the wireless charger, each in their own box. And basically, you gotta attach the straps yourself, and as you can see, it's super easy to do so. You just push it in and it clicks. That's it. Now, I have the titanium silver variant, but there are two other ones that you may consider before buying it. The straps are exactly the same, so the difference isn't in the straps. The difference is in the color of the casing and these lines around the watch. Looking at the pictures of the three variants, I think I would have liked the titanium gray one better, simply because these orange lines on dark gray makes a better contrast, and I like contrasting colors like these. But buttons and the contrasting colors on them are all the same. Now, one thing I don't understand is why Samsung went for white, orange, orange. We can clearly see on the Watch 7 and Buds 3 line, the expressive contrasting colors are blue and orange. So they should have made the same choice here for the Ultra watch. Another thing that confused me was when I read that the straps are 20 millimeters, but you can clearly see that they're in fact almost 23 millimeters, not 20, not 22, but more like 23 millimeters. So beware of the fact that these are large straps and different from what Samsung has said. Now, are they comfortable? I would say so. As you can see, we have two pins, so the straps are full of these pinholes, making them very breathable. But there are fabric alternatives that you can go for that might be even more comfortable. And I like the fact that the buckle has been edged out, resulting in a more smooth surface and ultimately better comfort when you put your wrist down and you're typing. Now at 47.5 millimeters, the Watch Ultra, while not the biggest, is still quite a big watch, and naturally you can expect the same comfort level as a smaller watch, and more times than not, the weight of the watch and straps are not the only factors affecting the comfort level, but rather the bulging on the back of the case. That bulge is quite annoying to me, but as you might have heard from me before, it is there for a purpose, to make sure there's enough contact between your skin and the sensors, resulting in more accurate readings. The Galaxy Watch Ultra also has titanium cushion frames with sapphire glass, which means it's very rugged and durable. Now I have one more point about the watch itself, then we can move on to the features and my experience with them. But please subscribe and share the video. So as you can see, the Watch Ultra has 3 buttons. So my only gripe here is that it looks like a crown, and yet it is not. I think it's a missed opportunity that Samsung didn't make this a rotating crown. This is my personal opinion, but I think a crown would have been really useful when you were doing some activities. The initial setup was quite easy. If you have a recent Galaxy device, as soon as you turn on the watch, you're going to get a pop-up on your phone to pair, but it just took a while with downloads and updates and Google syncing your account. So with the release of a new Galaxy Watch, we also always get new watch faces. This time we also have a few brand new ones. So this is the default one, and I can finally see a default watch face that I kind of like, because I like busy watch faces with a lot of data fields. So there's the UV index, steps, SpO2, etc. I can customize all these data fields though. But as you can see, this watch face also has an integrated compass around the watch face itself, which is the way I prefer. The other one is this white one, which is more simple, but again customizable. For example, now the compass is a data field. Then we have this super simple digital watch style, and finally this stylish one. But the Watch Ultra also has another unique feature when it comes to the watch face, and that's the night mode. This feature turns on everything on the watch face red at night, which results in good visibility and improvement in battery life. So the user interface is super smooth and fast, and with 2 GB of RAM and 32 GB of storage and a 5-core processor, I'm not worried about this watch slowing down too much anytime soon. The Watch Ultra also has a digital bezel, which is great for scrolling through things very quickly, and the 1.47-inch display is big enough to make you feel like you're actually using a rugged multi-sport watch. And when I say multi-sport, it means it's literally capable of tracking multiple sports or activities in one session. So traditionally on a Galaxy Watch, we've had access to different sports and specific exercise profiles, but on the Watch Ultra, we also have a multi-sport profile for which there's also a dedicated tile. As you can see, the default one is running, open water swimming, and running. But there are other options as well. There's a triathlon and duathlon as well. Not just that, but you can also create your custom multi-sport profile. But unfortunately, the options here are quite limited. For example, I can't track a strength training session and, for example, treadmill in one go, though it's enough for most common multi-sports. So far, I've been able to do one session of weightlifting, and I really enjoy hearing the watch announcing my calories and some other stats during my workout. And if you have any Galaxy Buds, you can connect them to the watch and hear those announcements directly in your ears. Overall, it was a pleasant experience working out with this watch, and in terms of heart rate accuracy, it did a good job. My maximum heart rate was 170 BPM, while the Galaxy Watch Ultra showed me 163 BPM. Also, my average HR was 129 BPM, and according to the Watch Ultra, it was 125 BPM. So all in all, it was good. Maybe just the max HR was a bit off, but when it comes to weightlifting, I don't have high expectations from pretty much any watches. And the real deal is when I try it during a running session, probably this Saturday. One more thing you need to know is that you can also see your heart rate recovery, which is a 2-minute measurement, and it's done after you finish your workout. And the faster it drops to your resting heart rate, the more fit and healthy you are. And by the way, to do this test, I wore a very accurate heart rate chest strap, and as you can see, it's kind of visible, it's kind of sticking out. We also have a brand new feature called Energy Score. This feature uses different sleep factors from the night before, your daily activity levels, and your overnight resting HR and HRV, which is the timing between each consecutive heartbeat, to estimate the amount of body energy as a 0 to 100 point score for the day ahead. This is a one-time score, meaning you see it in the morning and it doesn't dynamically change throughout the day, unlike some other watches with a similar feature. So you just take a look at it and decide what kind of day you better have, to push yourself or to take it easy. Now, two important things here. If you put your phone on flight mode at night, you can't see the score until you sync the watch with your phone. Secondly, in my test I can see that while the resting HR is quite close to the actual value, which is 49, due to heavy workload and stress, my HRV is not 71 milliseconds, and it's off by about 20 milliseconds. But take that with a grain of salt, because the longer you wear it, the better it should adapt to your body. So stay tuned for another review video on this. The next important feature is the body composition. This feature allows you to measure your body fat percentage, skeletal muscles, and body water, plus your BMR or basal metabolic rate, which is the bare minimum calories you need to survive. I did try this feature, and while both the BMR and BMI were quite close to the actual numbers, the body fat percentage was off by about 1.5 to 2%. But again, a longer term review is needed to figure out the margin of error here more precisely, which I've started to do. The next one is stress management, and unlike the energy score, it has dynamic and ever-changing values. You can also see both the average and real-time stress values throughout the day on the watch itself, which is great, and you can use the breathing guide to possibly lower your stress level. Additionally, you can further customize the breathing rate and the duration of inhales and exhales on the watch. And if actually seeing your continuous stress levels during the day makes you more stressed out, or you just want to save some battery, you can turn it off and instead just do an on-demand stress measurement. Next, we have the ECG on blood pressure, which isn't available in all countries, but also not necessarily the right way of monitoring any signs of heart issues and blood pressure levels. For example, the blood pressure feature uses the values that you have to enter yourself after taking them with an actual blood pressure monitor device to calibrate and give you an estimate until, again, it's time to calibrate, which becomes a regular thing. But perhaps the ECG feature can be more helpful, but you really can't rely on it. So don't freak out if it shows you that you have signs of AFib. My only gripe here is that for these two features, you need to use the Samsung Health Monitor app. So that makes it 3 apps to use one watch: the Galaxy Wearable app, the Samsung Health app, and the Health Monitor app. There's another brand new feature called AGE, which stands for Advanced Glycation End Products. which uses the new bioactive sensor. This is just an indicator of your metabolic health and perhaps the most unique feature I've seen in a while, and yet it's kind of an under the radar feature that Samsung hasn't talked about much, perhaps because it's still in beta. Now let's talk about the sleep tracking feature. So the sleep tracking features are actually pretty advanced, but that doesn't mean they're the most accurate. For example, if we take a look at my sleep score, which is 92, and then my sleep stage breakdown, you can see I was awake for nearly an hour, which is actually true. The problem is that if I spend an hour awake in the middle of the night, then I shouldn't have a score of 92. And if we go back to my energy score, which was 65, which is kind of an average score and is heavily impacted by sleep quality, then there's something wrong here. I shouldn't have an excellent sleep score and a terrible or average energy score. So if this watch didn't have an energy score and just had the sleep score, I'd ask myself, why do I not feel 100% despite this amazing sleep score? So all this means is that the sleep score is just not that accurate, especially the REM and deep sleep tracking aren't that accurate. What I do like is the skin temperature, the snore detection, and the time spent under 90% blood oxygen saturation, which can be helpful in diagnosing sleep apnea. But overall, the sleep tracking feature showed me the correct bedtime and awake time, and after 7 nights of tracking your sleep, the sleep coach feature with personalized tips will be activated. Another feature is a dual frequency GPS, but I haven't had a chance to try this yet, so perhaps in another video. But this is especially useful in dense urban areas, especially with tall buildings around. But what you need to know is that it needs internet to work. There's an additional feature on the Galaxy Watch Ultra that allows you to import or create GPX maps on your phone and then use the route feature to see where you are and to use the trackback feature so you can find your way back. Now, in terms of battery life, Samsung says that the battery lasts for up to 48 hours on this watch. And I did a test and it's been 24 hours. And as you can see, there's still more than 50% battery left. So this is quite amazing in the world of Samsung Galaxy watches. And I love the fact that I did a strength training session for 45 minutes or so, and it still has this much battery. So that 48-hour advertised number seems to be the correct number. And if you're not sure if this watch is for you, you can go ahead and watch my first impression video of the Galaxy Watch 7 over here.